Okay, so can I present the argument now?
He doesn't have to be a Christian.
So let's just recap as he's coming.
Right.
Yeah, go on.
Does that go for Adolf Hitler then?
For Adolf Hitler? Yeah, so
all right.
I'm going to reply. I didn't say yes. I didn't say yes or no. I was just going to reply to your question.
Adolf Hitler's soul is now in heaven.
We don't know whether Hitler's soul...
As an atheist, my soul is going to hell. I've never hurt anyone. I've never stolen from anyone.
Okay.
I've never lied to anyone. Because I do not believe in Jesus, I'm going to hell.
Okay.
Adolf Hitler...
I'm going to let him finish.
And you believe this
I'm going to let him finish. It's
you believe this bullshit.
Let's let him finish.
I'm an atheist.
Yeah, I'm going to let him finish.
I believe in nature.
Why do they always use this?
I believe that.
Yeah, suicide is like a death offense. But yeah. Anyways, look, I'm just going to let him finish.
I believe that organized.
I'm a Christian, I believe in science.
Out of paganism and philosophy.
Do you believe that he was only 10,000 years old?
I'm agnostic to that view, but I don't care.
You don't have an answer.
I don't care. Like,
You don't believe...
look, if the world was 10,000, can I finish? Look, if the earth was 10,000 years old, it wouldn't make me not a Christian. If the earth is 1 billion years old, I wouldn't care.
It's your faith, isn't it?
Well, I mean, the point is that whether the universe is 13 billion years old or 10,000 years old is irrelevant to whether God exists or not, and it's irrelevant to whether Christianity is true. I don't care.
Why choose Christianity and not?
Yeah, so there are. Yeah, that's true. So apart from the God, I understand that. Apart from the God claim, there are other claims that are fulfilled by religions, like sociology, as well as history. Now, I believe within the history that we have of Christianity, it best characterizes the world and is the only explanation for the entire states of things that we have. Now, I'm not going to say that you're going to go to hell simply because you're not a Christian. I'm going to say that you're going to hell in your obstinance to God. I don't think you're obstinate to God because you haven't presented such. Neither have you, apparently.
But you know the concepts that Christianity
has? Like what?
Messiah, Christ.
These are Jewish concepts. Yeah.
No, but they're also Zoroastrian concepts.
That's fine. It's also
no Christ.
Yeah, it's
Christ
also
consciousness,
not Christ consciousness. It's also a Zoroastrian belief that the sky is blue. The point is, it's just because two other sections believe in something and one section is pagan and the other one is Christian, it doesn't mean that the Christians copy from the pagans. In fact, we probably have more evidence than not to suggest that pagans, especially in the Hellenistic world, took from Christian philosophy. A good example, I'm going to give you a good example. That argument has been made by many, but individuals like Ilaria Ramelli, she published a paper on Neoplatonism. Plotinus was an individual that, started off the Neoplatonic movement. To make it simple, there are Greek words in Plotinus's book that was not written by Plotinus, it was written by his student, Porphyry. Porphyry took that phrase from Origen, who was a Christian. The Christian word hypostasis, that makes its way into neo-pagan literature, that makes its way into Neoplatonist literature, comes from Christians. In fact, we have pagan philosophers like Numenius of Aramea, who directly quotes from the Bible. He quotes narratives of Jesus. More often than not, it is the pagans that take from the Christians. It is a false narrative, I would argue, that it is the other way around. How is a cross a pagan symbol?
Because it represented the four winds.
No.
Many cultures surrounded Judea, they had a cross symbol.
Could you name one of those cultures?
Egypt had a cross symbol. The Coptic Christians used that as a cross.
Yes, the Coptic Christians actually...
You've got the Tau cross, T-A-U, the Tau cross.
I'm going to explain can I explain the Coptic one, the Ankh?
Go on.
So actually, in the history of Christianity, when it moved into Egypt, Mark, the person that we believe wrote the Gospel of Mark, he
didn't actually. We don't know. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John never existed. You don't know your Bible.
That's a false claim. So
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John weren't. No one knows who wrote the fucking Bible.
All right, I'm gonna continue on that point.
By the way, the Bible was written by Jews.
Can I finish?
Who call themselves
Can I finish?
the chosen of God.
Can I finish?
And that's why we are where we
Can I finish? Can I finish?
Okay?
Can I finish?
If you believe, if they genuinely believe they're the chosen of God, they can do what the fuck they like to the Palestinians because God chose them. And that's why we are where we are, because of fucking religion. That's all I've got to say to you. I don't believe I'm going to hell because hell doesn't fucking exist. God doesn't exist. All right?
Sounds like you're not going to hell because you don't want hell to be real. But I want to answer that question.
And I'm a humanist.
All right.
I treat everyone as equally. And if you believe I'm going to
I said
to hell,
it sounds to him that he doesn't. He says that he's not going to hell, but it sounds to me like he's saying that he doesn't want to go to hell because he doesn't want hell to be real. Can I finish my point before you finish?
Okay, yeah.
Can I finish? Can I finish?
Hell.
Thank you, because I think we agree. I think we agree that I've tried to be my best to be respectful, right? So to continue on this point, okay, with Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John being English names, Mark is an English translation of a Greek name, Marcos. Marcos is actually a Greek name. Lucas is a Greek name. Johannes is a Hebrew name.
The Greeks didn't write the Bible.
Yes, they did.
The Jews wrote the Bible.
So again,
The Jews.
Can I finish? Can I finish? Okay. So again, I've studied. Not only do I study the New Testament, I also study early Christian history. What we have is that the Old Testament was written primarily by what we would consider Jewish people. That's fine. The New Testament was written by individuals that were converts from Judaism to Christianity. So Lucas.
Jesus was Jew anyway.
Jesus was Jewish. That's fine. However, pardon? Yeah. The same way.
They can't prove the authorship.
I want to do that. Okay. The way that we prove the authorship of the New Testament letters is the same way that we have proved the authorship of other books in history, like Cicero, like Varro, like Aristotle. A good example of this is a conversation. This exact conversation has happened centuries before by an individual called Augustine, who was an African Christian in Tunisia. This is what he said. He said, the way that we've proven that Varro, Aristotle, and other people wrote their books is because when the author published it and made it public, individuals in that community passed it down from teacher to student. And so as the belief became more common in general, we became more certain about who wrote the books. The same system was used for Christians.
Yeah, but it hasn't been proven.
For example, do you believe? For example, do you believe?
If they haven't
the
authorship of the Old Testament.
Actually, here's the problem. The study of the authorship, the study of the authorship, the study of the authorship of the Old Testament is a different study than the study of the authorship of the New Testament. Have you ever read the actual arguments, not the scholars' names, the actual arguments that they use? The arguments they use is this. Well, we need to assume with suspicion that it wasn't one author, but a community of people. But they haven't given evidence to prove that. Here is what we say. The history of the church and the history of the students of these individuals in these communities passed down the information that these specific individuals wrote the text. A good piece of evidence is to say this. Out of the 4 Gospels that we have, 2 of them were not part of the 12 disciples. Why didn't we take Mark and Luke and say that Philip wrote it or that Peter wrote it? It would have helped us much more. But we chose, apparently, 2 random people. Now, bear in mind, in the history of the church, these names have never had any variance whatsoever. Even the heretics that hated these scripts didn't contest that those people wrote them, apart from one person in history, Faustus the Manichaean. And in fact, the only reason he ever complained about that was because every time he tried to quote the Bible, Augustine would quote it better and he would just start to complain. He wasn't actually making any arguments. In New Testament critical scholarship today, similar arguments about a criteria of suspicion are used.
It's not definitive.
Their arguments themselves aren't definitive, but from the data that we do have with patristic history, I would argue that we actually know who wrote those texts.
There's still skepticism.
Now, you can always be skeptical, but it depends on how you categorize your evidence.
Okay.
I choose...
It takes a lot of faith, though, to surrender for that.
No. Okay, for example, I'll give an example of...
I believe that these people did write it.
I'll give an...
give my entire life over to live in a certain
Oh, no, that's it. Whether those people wrote it is a different claim as to whether I would surrender to Christ and say he's my Lord. That's a different claim. Now, a lot of the evidence that we use to patristic history, the reason why it's discounted is simply because those individuals liked the Jesus fellow. That's it. That isn't, I believe, that isn't a good reason to discount their testimony. Now, I'm going to say something else. The existence of Muhammad, right? You believe Muhammad existed?
No.
Right, he believed.
Islam's history is even weaker.
Now,
And its scholarship's even weaker.
here's the thing,
That's
right?
why they're not as good as the
Now, for example, right, modern critical scholars would not be jumping at the bit to say, well, we don't know who wrote the Quran or we don't know who wrote these hadith.
And it's true.
And the reason why they don't want to say that is because in Muslim history, the way they record their history is entirely hagiographical. It's not historiography. What they do, if you look at, for example, a simple hadith that is narrated by Aisha about Muhammad, every single person in that chain has to be a Muslim.
Yes.
Now, if we use the critical views of the scholars, I could have reasonable suspicion to say, actually, this entire chain is BS because they're all religiously motivated.
And
but
the
that
Quran,
isn't...
And the Quran chapters are not in chronological
Sure.
order.
Sure.
Chapter 1 should be chapter 5.
Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
It's all over the place.
Now, this is the
So
thing.
then how could it be holy?
But we don't treat it as such. We don't treat it that way in scholarship. So I would argue that there seems to be a religious bias against the Christian religion because of the way that scholarship has worked from the 1800s till now. And you can measure that. Now, here's what I will say, okay? When it comes to the hell question, okay? If I believe that you're in hell, it's not going to be because you did bad things. It's going to be because you were already on the way to hell because your will wasn't aligned with God. I believe that since Hitler committed suicide, he's most likely in hell. I don't believe that he repented and stuff like that. And even if he did repent, right, it could be a cop-out, it could be anything of those natures. We also believe, and here's the thing, we believe in this as well, and this is actually the Christian position on this. After an individual dies, let's say someone has never heard the gospel before, they're not going to immediately go to hell. After they die, Christ has the power to present the gospel to them, and upon their acceptance, they'll be admitted into heaven. Easy. For you as well, if you die, I take it that there are more emotional or sociological reasons why you don't believe in a God figure. That's fine. Let me ask you.
Why can't it be the other way around? Why can't,
Let me ask.
let's say, for example,
Because you're critiquing my view.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
But if it was, but you're fair enough to say that. Supposing I was a Native American.
I just want to finish this question as well. So let me ask you a question. If Jesus right now came down to you and said, "Hello, I'm God. Christianity is true," would you believe in him?
Oh, I say, fucking hell, that's amazing. And I'm going to say to him, are you omnipresent? Is God omnipresent everywhere?
Let's say he answered all the questions. I'm just saying, if Christ appeared in himself to you, would you believe? So you would be in heaven. You would also be in heaven because the idea is now that God has sufficiently shown himself to you, because we don't believe that you stop existing after death. After death, you can still get it.
Zoroastrians or Mazda appeared.
Or Mazda, yeah.
Would you believe in Zoroastrianism?
I wouldn't believe in Zoroastrianism.
Even if the God appeared
and I would say that it's fair for him to send me to hell. Now, here's what I would argue.
That's fair.
Now, here's what I would argue, right? Here's what I would argue with Ahura Mazda, right? If there are logical or historiographical inconsistencies, like we don't see in Christianity when we look at the study of the religion, then we would say that Ahura Mazda wouldn't be a true belief. A good example is just on metaphysics, right? Good example. Ahura Mazda isn't all-powerful. He can get stronger the more you pray to him. It's a good example. The more you do good in the world, the stronger Ahura Mazda gets and the weaker Angramanyu gets. Now, in order for you to be the cause of everything, both changeable, both unchangeable, you yourself cannot be affected by something. And so Ahura Mazda, logically for those principles, I would argue would be wrong. And I would do the same with other religions and so on. I would also use, historical claims as well.
They can make the same arguments towards Christianity. So what I'm trying to say is that...
What argument would they make?
Because you're saying that...
Because I'm coming from a logical stance or a metaphysical stance.
Right, but the Bible is only 3,500 years old.
That's fine at the Bible, but I didn't go to the Avesta, did I? Did I use the Avesta when I was critiquing? No. So them just going straight to the Bible is actually mischaracterizing the kind of argument they want to use.
Okay, but you know Jesus Christ through the Old Testament, through the New Testament.
And the Old Testament, yes.
And the Old Testament. So we have to, if you're making the strength of this character comes from this book, the only way we know about this character is from this Bible.
But we also know the character
because Native Americans, let's say their religion comes down orally.
But we also have oral tradition as well.
Yeah,
we have the succession of the apostles.
It was the oral tradition that became a Torah. But I'm saying...
No. I'm saying, okay, so I'm writing a thesis right now. So I believe, and the reason I'm saying I believe is just so that I can be nicer, okay? The position of the Christian church is actually that the oral and written tradition grew simultaneously. They both exist. And you use both, not just the Bible, but the early Christian tradition. I'll give you an example. The Bible says that we should baptize people in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Everyone knows this. It doesn't tell you what kind of water to use. It doesn't tell you what kind of confessions you make before and after. It doesn't tell you what days you can get baptized and so on and so forth. These things are in the oral tradition, and we use both. Now, when I was critiquing Zoroastrianism, and notice, I never appealed to their holy text. I didn't appeal to their holy book. All I did was take a logical stance on the way that they worship their God, and I argued that there is an inconsistency with that God criteria, because I would say that Ahura Mazda doesn't fulfill the criteria to be the cause of everything. He would need to be caused by something else.
I know, but that's by your logic or your chosen logic.
No, I'm just using metaphysics. Like, for example, whether or not I live or die, those truths would still exist. That's the point. Now, if a Zoroastrian wants to do the same to me, that's fine.
All right, that's fair, and I like that.
Now, and we would have a conversation on that.
Can you see the attempt that they make? If 1,000 people pray to one God and one person pray to one God, then the 1,000 people praying to a God, that God is stronger than the one that prays to the one person praying to.
Now the problem is that makes that God contingent. He's changeable. He can be stronger, he can be weaker, he can be smarter, he can be dumber. He could have better glasses, he could have a beard that connects, you know. These are...
Take the mask off. Do you believe everything in the Bible? Everything?
Yeah, sure.
Do you believe the Bible? Do you know the Bible promotes slavery?
No.
Yes, it does.
It doesn't.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Can I? Women are second to men.
Can I finish?
Women are second class.
Can I finish?
Very good point.
Because
Sorry to interrupt. Can I get your email? I'm looking.
The Bible promotes murder as well.
Is that possible?
Yeah.
Write it down.
This is what they do.
It's going to be around here anyway.
There's slavery in the Bible. Yeah. Women are below men in the Bible. Murder is.
And God sanctions it.
All right, can I finish?
Go on, carry on.
Okay, so now we've moved from analyzing the contingency of Ahura Mazda to slavery in the Bible. I just want everyone to know, 2 different topics, right?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go to this now. I'm going to try this.
You was fair with your critique.
Yeah. I'm going to do this now, okay? Now, when I said no, I'm allowed to explain myself. As a black person, we understand that the slavery that is mentioned in the Bible is not the same as the transatlantic slave trade. Now, here is what slavery was articulated in the Bible. In fact, the Exodus 21 laws and all of these laws that articulate, and the Levitical laws that articulate slavery and so on. Slavery, in its general definition, is just the state of someone being owned by someone else, okay? However, the distinction here is that someone that becomes a slave of someone else is volitional. Let's say, for example, in 2020, I'm trying to put this in a 21st century context. Let's say, for example, you don't have any money, you've run out of money, you don't have a job, you have nothing. You go to someone and you say, look, I will work for you for 7 years. And in exchange, I would like for you to give me these things. I'll do anything you want. You write up a contract, you write up a contract. And you fulfill the terms of that agreement, and after 7 years, in the same book of Leviticus, chapter 25, you are immediately released from office.
Only if you're Jewish.
Only if you're Jewish. Completely fine. All I'm doing right now is explaining. Can I finish?
Carry on. Yeah, go on.
Every single time I try to speak, you interrupt me.
Go on, carry on.
It's sickening now. I need you to be humble enough to not do that. Okay? Okay. So in the Jewish context, okay, those people would be released every 7 years. And every 25 years, both Jewish and non-Jewish slaves are also freed. Every 25 years. It's a super jubilee. Now, here's what's important, okay? Because I am not a Jew, I am a Christian, I don't believe that those laws in themselves were the perfection of God's revelation. And I will explain what I mean, okay? The Jews' laws at the time were to demonstrate the transgressions that they were in. If I want to give someone a good and correct moral system, and they are very morally depraved, I don't just give them the moral system straight away, because they're not capable of following it. It's like teaching a kid how to ride a car, and they're not tall enough. You need to train the kid up to know what they're doing. Now, sometimes that will mean that you're going to accept practices that are not the ideal. However, shut up. However, don't be racist. Now, however, okay? However, these laws, because you're asking a Christian, you're not asking a Jew. These laws were to show the transgression of the Israelite peoples, to show how bad they were as a unit. What those laws did was make the Jews comparably better to other Canaanite and pagan groups. I think all of us can agree on that. What it didn't do was make the Jewish people an amazing people. That's not what it did. What it was supposed to do was to draw them closer to the perfection that we see, where, for example, in Galatians, slavery is completely abolished in all forms. Where we have, for example, the interpretation of those laws, which is to be extended to everyone in a Christian state. For example, in a Christian state, whether you're a Christian or you're a pagan slave, you would be allowed to have the exact same rights under the slave laws, completely. The Jubilee years were a testament to that revelation. Now, the point being made...
God in the Old Testament sanctioned slavery.
God in the Old Testament...
He said people should go and invade, kill, take your, rise up.
Yeah, but he's not killing random innocents. He's killing people that boil their babies.
I know, but
let me ask you.
Your God still supports invasion.
Can I? Yeah.
Rising up an army and taking up arms.
One very important part.
I'll give you an example. Here's an example. Right now, there is a very political crisis that you mentioned with Israel and Palestine.
Yes.
Do the Palestinians have a right to defend themselves?
Yes. Yeah.
Do they also have a right to attack against the state of Israel in an offensive sense?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Those offenses are still detailed in the Old Testament.
Yes.
You said that you were against the taking up of arms. You said that you were against invasion. You just now advocated...
I didn't say I was against it. I said your God sanctioned.
Okay, so if you're not against it, then why do you care?
I care because...
Is it a bad thing for someone to endorse those things?
Of course,
it's immoral.
Is it a bad thing for you?
I like the question. It's the thing that...
Try and think about it.
It's a thing that the God says, I am the supreme. I am this, I am that.
That's fine.
I created everyone. I am the man of love. Why the fuck does he come up and
I'm not going to ask another question again. I'm going to stick on this.
I want to hear that because I think
The
I know
problem,
what you mean.
And I'll answer that later, but yes. Go on.
So this God says it's got this power, and it's supreme,
Yeah.
and it's the true God.
Yeah.
You see what I'm trying to say to you? And this is where the God of love, and this is where the problem comes in. Because this same belief system came in contact with the Maoris in New Zealand, the Aborigines in Australia, the Native Americans in North America, Central America, the Caribbean, and then this God automatically takes supremacy.
This God.
Over the God of the Bible.
The white man when I basically went over there and fucked them. Basically, that's what
Alright, I'm going to explain that point. That's fine.
Let's be frank.
But I'm going to...
The God from the Bible teachings, it came into contact with all these different cultures, but it's the true God. So therefore it has to have supremacy, supersedes all the other cultures. Aztec,
here's a question that I want to ask. It's okay.
Aztec, Inca, Hindu.
We're going to finish what they're saying.
Every single culture come in contact with this Bible God wins. It's numero uno. It doesn't have an equal.
Okay. By the way, I'm not...
What makes that God better than the Maori God?
Okay, that's fine.
Aborigine God.
Okay.
Whoa,
okay. By the way, it's not Native American gods, Native American gods, or some sort of spiritual energy. But the point being is, even in the Bible, we actually appeal to pagan works to prove the existence of our God. Give an example. St. Paul went to a debating spot, like Speaker's Corner, in the Areopagus in Athens. He noticed that there were many statues of different gods. And what he said is this: listen, you guys are very, very auspicious, you're very superstitious, and I appreciate your religiosity. You worship all of these different gods, Zeus, Minerva, all of them, whether Greek or Roman. Minerva is a Roman name. However, you have a statue here that's just a slab of rock. And on the slab of rock, it says, to the unknown God. This specific God, I'm going to preach that God to you. I'm going to say that this God was not made by hands. All of these other gods were made by stone and so on. Now, if you look into these cultures, such as in the Native American cultures, Aboriginal cultures, for example, Emil Durkheim, who actually researched Aboriginal religion in this aspect, you will notice that evangelistic efforts by Christians weren't inherently violent. That's the first thing. That is a narrative that's been popularized by Hollywood, for example. The second thing that I will grant you is this. There was absolutely violence in the Americas due to manifest destiny. None of those was commensurate with the early Christian church, in fact. In fact, that was later with Protestant Baptists that moved from England to America. In no way are the Baptists identical with the early Christians. In fact, they're an offshoot. of traditional Christianity, which is why I can disavow them completely, right?
What makes that Bible God superior to the other gods, all the other cultures?
Yeah, because the Bible God that we're arguing for, the Bible God that we're arguing for accounts for all of these gods. There is a verse and I'll explain. If you look into all of these other religions, you'll notice that they're either henotheistic or polytheistic, because we're just dealing with polytheism right now.
The early Israelites.
So was the early Israelites were henotheists or monolatrists?
Yahweh comes from a pantheon of gods.
That is an argument that's made by Old Testament scholars, but the arguments to suggest that is to say that Israel was identical in worship to other Canaanite sects, which I don't believe there is sufficient evidence for that.
I believe that there's sufficient evidence for.
But
I believe Yahweh was a Canaanite.
The problem is if you,
a Canaanite storm deity that came out of Canaanite mythology.
If you read the actual scholarship on that issue, all they've done is say, well, this is because Israelites were just another tribe amongst tribes. They didn't have a different belief system. They didn't have a different way of conceiving God, which denies an individual group of people being able to create their own history. Imagine if white people came and said, well, the blacks, they're just guys that like, multiple gods, man. They don't believe in chi. They don't know how to really worship God. All they believe in is like some random ancestors. They eat humans and that. We're not able to define our own history? Of course not. So, you said yes to that? No.
Every culture should be able to define its own history.
So why don't we do the same with the Israelites?
You can, but why do they need to?
So if the Israelites, now that we've settled that claim, so now that we've settled that claim about the storm deity stuff, we can move to this claim now. In polytheism, they argue that there could be a range of gods, but they don't tackle the metaphysical questions as to whether there is a universal cause for those things. In Christianity, uniquely as to other monotheistic religions, in 1 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 6, it says this: there are many gods, as it were, and many lords. To us, there is one God, and to us, there is one Lord. What it means is that the existence of these other entities, they're not going to be gods in the highest sense, in the sense that we should pledge our fealty to them. They exist as lesser spiritual beings, as it were. We can call them demons, and demons is just a lesser spiritual being that went against God or forgot its purpose in God.
How does that prove that your God is superior to the other gods? If those other cultures did something more advanced than the God of the Bible?
What?
Your God is down to belief then.
No. Hold on. No. Whoa. The reason I said what? The reason I said what?
The Egyptians built the pyramids. Ancient Hindus got the.
So because I can build. Hold on. So
advanced cultures.
Can I finish?
The Jewish.
So because we can build. Okay. So because you can build like massive ziggurats as well as pyramids, that makes them more advanced.
Yeah, because what has the God?
Because he's showing that these people believe in something else.
But you're not
critiquing. And your God supersedes.
But the problem again, God superseding another God is not the same as people superseding other people. None of what you said, but the problem. Okay, what did he talk about? I'm gonna finish.
Why can't Judeo-Christian culture?
That's not God. That's culture. So see, that's not a theological. I thought that we were doing straight theology, just talking about the God concept.
Yeah, but I'm trying to say to you because he said that he said something earlier about the God that he believes in is over the other gods. He said that, right?
Now, can I give my reasons for that?
And I'm saying
it's because of certain principles of metaphysics, meaning. Okay.
But that's what I'm saying. You might not be satisfied with his answer.
Yeah.
He can only give you what he believes.
But it's an answer. No. Bear in mind.
He's going to tell you why that's true, but it's a belief.
Now again, bear in mind.
Other cultures you pray to other gods.
So if I just give you an example of the achievements of Christianity, for example, fine. The existence. The existence of libraries, the existence of universities, the existence of irrigation system, the existence of for example, the sanitation movement, which no other culture had before the Israeli Judeo-Christian culture.
The Indus Valley civilization.
The Indus Valley civilization was literally the birthplace of the Abrahamic tradition.
That's not true.
The Abraham cycle. Okay.
The Indus Valley is all the way over there in India, Pakistan.
Yeah, that's right.
How is that where Jesus?
So in
Judea.
Mesopotamia and the Indus River civilization actually have a lot of congruence.
Yeah, I know they
the
do.
birth of the Abraham tradition was in Mesopotamia, for example. Yeah. But the Indus River Valley civilization does have roots back to the monotheistic concepts that came from Mesopotamia. No, can I ask you? Okay, it's an easy thing. It's a causation thing.
I like that.
I'm gonna ask you a question. Okay,
No way you can.
which civilization? I'm gonna ask you. Which civilization? Which? Can I ask you a question? No, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. Which religion? Okay, which civilization came first? Mesopotamia or the Indus River Valley civilization?
Ooh, they both kind of like
No,
old.
no. They're both old. I know. I'm not old either. No, it is Mesopotamia.
Some people.
No one says. No. It's literally Mesopotamia. The reason why it's Mesopotamia is because it was the very first time that we were able to build a society from a river valley. Okay? Now, Mesopotamia is first. Babylonian culture, Sumerian culture comes from this, but also the Abrahamic tradition comes from this as well. In fact, you see remnants of this within the Bible with the character of Abraham changing his name to Abraham. You have examples of this with the existence of the Enochic tradition of Enoch and so on. So we have early proto-Judean literature and culture such as the ziggurats. Ziggurats are mentioned in the Bible, for example. These things are commensurate with what comes to be known as the Christian religion. So your claim was, well, you know, Christians have never done anything cool, and these other groups have done.
Cool. I'm saying that other cultures have done cooler.
Okay, have done cooler. How do you judge whether it's better or worse? I think being clean is better than building a big building.
It was clean. I said to you, in this valley.
No. They don't have a plumbing system is one thing. That's to keep the place clean, not to keep themselves clean. They didn't have a sanitary movement. They didn't. Christians uniquely had for example, the sanitary movement in America started in the 1700s. That's how late it was.
Native Americans
right?
were clean.
Pardon?
Native Americans
Not as clean as the Christians that came after them.
No, they was.
Not as clean as the
Yes, it
Christians.
was.
No?
Those waters that ran through all the Mississippi rivers and all that.
Not the waters, the people in themselves.
The people was cleaner.
Okay.
Because they brought diseases.
Can I ask you a question?
The Europeans that came there brought diseases.
They brought. Well, the problem is.
Smallpox.
Well, the problem is. Yeah, that's fine. But they weren't exposed to those diseases before. They didn't have the immune system for it. So if you have an immune system for it, it's because you're able to adapt to it and you're cleaner for it. Now, here's the question that I want to ask you, okay? When it comes to these groups over here, the Native Americans, for example, they had a tradition called scalping. Do you know what scalping is?
Yes. What is it, by the way? Where you take the head on.
They would take, when they kill someone, they would take the scalp of a person and they would wear it as a necklace. Now, and you understand that they would keep this for the rest of their lives.
So not all tribes did it.
No. Most tribes did it.
You can't say.
Name one tribe that didn't.
I can't say that one.
No. They did it, bro. Bro, they did it, bro.
Some did it.
It wasn't a sum. It's not a sum.
Some.
The problem is, no. It was so common that in Manifest Destiny for Americans, which I disagree with, by the way. Even in Manifest Destiny, they said one of the main things that was abhorrent to them was the very fact that you could have thousands of these people, and the worst thing about it was the smell. Now, the reason
it's a big assumption.
No.
Because if you're making that type of
wait, what was the claim that I said? What was the claim I said?
So so-called Christians who came over,
the Baptists that came over
with the Christian faith.
With the Baptist faith.
Yeah, or the
again, like Baptist Christology. Baptist Christology is not the same as early Christianity. I am defending early Christianity. Okay, that's Christianity.
The reason the Christians didn't die, the Jews didn't die from cleanliness laws from the Black Death.
Yeah.
There's a lot less of them that died from the Black Death because of the cleanliness laws that they kept.
I'll give you an example.
Well, the Black Death was in Britain.
There was a lot of unhygienic things
everywhere.
going on in
Hold on a minute.
Jews everywhere.
Hold on a minute. The Jews in England. Hold on. The Jews in England didn't die of the Black Death.
Less of them died.
Less of
Oh,
them
really?
died.
Because they're Jews.
Not because they're Jews, but because they followed a sanitary movement. Guys, not because they're Jews, but because they followed a sanitary movement. What? Oh, look. What?
One very important point about the slave.
Because I'm going to stop. Hold on. The problem is every single time we try to address one claim, one of you goes to a completely different claim. Yeah. I haven't finished that claim, so I'm gonna finish this. Okay. So the claim that I made to you, right, about the smell was the claim that these individuals made. As in, when they're fighting, they ask them, what is the thing? What are some of the bad things about them? And of course, you're going to be like, oh, they're disgusting, they're nasty, they have pagan traditions and blah, blah, blah. The first thing they said is they smell really bad. As in, I can't go, like, usually when you win, you're going to go in and loot. Some of the time they couldn't even loot just because of the cleanliness of the area.
you're making
Now,
big
but I'm not
major
talking.
assumption.
What's the assumption that I'm making?
That you're saying that is fundamentally true about that entire group of people.
That entire group of people,
that's not true.
the way of living of those people wasn't sanitary.
That's not true.
Okay, could you name, not about the way they kept rivers nice, because that's different, did they keep themselves clean?
There are people who took hygiene,
Could you name a tribe that took hygiene seriously, the way that Christians fundamentally did?
You're saying that Christians fundamentally did, but Christians didn't.
Yes, we did.
No, they didn't.
Yes, we did.
No, they didn't.
Yes, we did.
Intrinsically know this.
No, the way that we. No. Okay.
It's not even a point. You know that, right?
The stuff about. Okay. Yeah, the stuff about. The problem is the stuff about guessing and so on would make sense if we're making claims that can't be verified.
Right.
But the sources that we can use are people that talk about Christians that are against them, people that talk about Christians that are neutral, and Christians themselves. Those are sources that you can use. The same traditions that you can use. But the claims that we're making is whether that was because of those individual people or because of the traditions and systems that they had. Remember, we're not just talking about Native American people. We're talking about Native American tradition, religion, belief. I'm saying that in their tradition and belief, this was what happened. This was the source material. In Christian tradition and belief, you could have 1,000 people that didn't follow the Christian system. That doesn't mean that that is not what the Christian system teaches. So I'm trying to make the claim very specific.
So they pick and choose which one they want to do.
What?
So they pick. Because
wait. How did you get the pick and choose thing?
I'm gonna tell you.
Could you? Okay,
I'm
actually,
gonna tell you.
could you explain what my point is?
No, wait.
No, you asked him a question.
Yeah, I explained.
You got to let him answer.
So let me.
What was the? I didn't ask you a question.
You said, so how did I get to that point? The reason why I threw that statement out is that.
So you just threw it out?
No, the reason why I said that.
He just said he threw it out.
Yeah, but listen.
My bad.
The reason why I said that is because you said, oh, the traditions of Christianity was emphasized on cleanliness, even if some individuals didn't practice it.
Yeah.
So I said to you, you could only be making that statement based on what is recorded in the Old Testament.
Right.
Because the Old Testament is the laws of how they kept cleanliness and how they.
I'm not a Jew. I'm a Christian, and Christians don't just believe in the Bible.
So what do they believe in?
We believe in the apostolic tradition. The same thing I explained to you.
What is that?
Thank you. Okay, this guys, right? So.
Wait, Christians don't believe in the. Christians don't just believe in the Bible.
Not just the Bible. Not just the Bible.
And it's gonna get messed up.
So what we believe.
All these religious people. Can I
No,
go back?
wait, let me let me hear this.
Let the brother tell you what else he
Let me
believes
Yes.
before you put him down. Let him tell you. You
Oh,
don't know.
all right, tell him.
You don't know,
Let
and you're already
All right, tell him.
condemning him.
Oh, okay.
Tell him, brother.
Thank you very much, sister. I appreciate you.
I love you too.
Thank you so much. I love you.
Referee right there.
You know, start of my sentence, middle of your sentence. You know, it's crazy. So.
Keep it fair.
What we believe as Christians is something known as holy tradition, okay?
What that word that you said before, what was it?
Tradition.
No, but
No.
Holy.
No, not that.
Christians don't just believe in the Bible. They believe in.
Oh, yeah.
What's that?
Apostolic tradition.
Okay, start.
Yeah.
What is that?
The tradition of the apostles, the disciples of Jesus. Now, what we believe, and I'm just trying to explain this slowly, so please don't interrupt. What we believe is that Christ founded the church first, before the New Testament. The New Testament didn't exist yet. Now, when Christ founded the church, he also gave the entirety of his revelation to his students. We believe that those students passed it down to their students and so on. Evidence for this is actually in the Bible, Matthew 28:19, where Christ says to make mathetes. The word mathetes means student, make students. And so from teacher to student, these traditions were passed down. Now, part of that tradition is the Bible that everyone reads. Another part of the tradition is the apostolic traditions that were not written in the Bible, but are written, they are written in a various of ways. They're written in our hymns. They're written in the liturgy. They're written in the writings of the early Christians who we call the church fathers. They are written in the synaxis, which is the lives of different saints. They are written in the words and testaments of martyrs. So these things, we use all of them as part of divine revelation, as part of the revelation of God. And in these different texts, they emphasize our opinions on music. For example, the early Christian fathers actually are very against music because of the way that music can entice people to do things.
Sorry,
No, I'm not
young
Catholic.
man, how old are you?
I don't reveal my age, but you can guess. I go uni.
How old are you? Because you are like my son.
Yes, I am your son. Yes.
I like what you say.
Thank you so much.
But you need to listen as well.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Because it's good to talk, but it's good to listen.
Thank you, sir.
He's got knowledge though. He's got knowledge. That doesn't mean I agree with what he's saying.
No.
He's got knowledge.
But we can respect the fact that we're having a very respectful dialogue, right?
You got a lot of knowledge still.
Now,
Man, a lot of people don't know about the
I never heard it.
say it again, the
apostolic tradition. Now, would you be surprised if 2 billion people believe that? 2 billion Christians believe that. 1.6 of them are Catholic, 300 million are Eastern Orthodox, 60 million Oriental Orthodox, 400...
How many of them are Protestant?
How many Protestants? Around 400 million.
Yeah, it's the second biggest.
I need to see it.
It's the second biggest denominational group. But if we're looking at actual denomination in themselves, there are around 10 Protestant denominations, each of them sectioned off. You're actually combining multiple denominations together to form that group.
Well, what denomination? Good question.
Yeah. So right now, I'm currently discerning between Roman Catholicism and Eastern Orthodoxy. And the way that I'm doing that is, I would sway a lot towards Eastern Orthodoxy in my interpretative tradition of. In some ways, and in some ways they're different. Depends on who you ask, right? Now, I want to be very clear about this stuff. This is actually something that we believe for the past 2,000 years. If you were, for example, in Malaysia, if you were in Italy, you would actually believe in the apostolic tradition. You would be aware of it. Because Orthodox, who were oppressed by the Muslims for around 1,000 years, okay, since the inception of the religion, in Egypt, were able to survive because they were able to teach their students and their children.
How about the Abyssinians?
The Palestinians?
The Abyssinians, the
Same thing.
Ethiopians.
Yeah. Oh, wait, hold on.
Are they Eastern?
They never got Ethiopia.
Okay.
You get it?
How about Morocco?
Same thing.
Touch on the,
Wow.
They're in the same North African region. Same thing. How you doing, brother?
Look. I've
Yes,
been
sir.
listening to you. Yes. I am very peaceful guy, my friend. Listen, you are like my son.
Okay.
We are human. We're all brothers in humanity to start with. If you are from Christian background, mainly because you were born in that background. You understand?
If you're an atheist
wait,
in England, wouldn't you not be an atheist because you were born into atheist London?
No, I am non-believer of religion, but I am not atheist. I believe there is something wise, because that something, he creates billions of like sun, trillions of our.
I understand.
No, you don't understand.
Okay, I don't understand.
The God of the Bible, Abrahamic God, my friend, is already done. Is not on the floor.
Okay.
You understand? You can have your belief, but I don't think we humanists, we don't know. I know your religion more than you think. I am a Jew, Muslim, and Christian. Me, I am from Jewish background. You understand? And I know Islam, I know Christianity, and I know we need the love and peace, and you need to keep your religion to yourself.
Okay.
Don't come here. Here is not place to come and preach your religion. Honestly.
Oh no, it is.
Religion is that's how I say.
Okay.
Religion should be personal.
Thank you so much.
Respect.
Thank you so much.
Can I get 1 minute?
Yeah. After this, I will. So just to continue, so in the Holy Tradition, it teaches us on how to be clean and stuff like this. You got to be clean inside as well as outside and things like this. And so we've emphasized those things in the apostolic tradition, which is what led to the sanitary movement when the Americans caught on in the 1700s. That's what I'm basically explaining. Now, again, the reason why our religion would be true is because it fulfills those historical claims. So stuff like accounting for the figure of Jesus and the resurrection, and Christianity accounts for that. We also account for the worship of these other gods. We account for why these other gods are even worshipped. We account for how they even came into existence in these different polities.
You believe that what you believe in makes you a better person?
No, absolutely not.
You don't believe what you believe in makes you a better person?
Oh, no. I believe that Christ improves me, but I don't believe I'm a better human than you simply by merit of being Christian. You understand? So here's the thing.
Because a lot of people in the Abraham days will say, because I'm in this doctrine, I'm better than you.
No.
That's what they'll say.
Like the same way I would say here. You know what? I'll even throw a bone to that. I'll say the same way someone is better than someone else because they believe the earth is round is similar in the sense of I believe I'm better than you in the sense of religion, right? But I won't say I'm a better human than you.
Self-righteous, holier than
Yeah, I won't be holy there. Yeah. No. I came with a mask on my face. I clearly don't want clout, right? So
why are you like? I don't disagree with what you're saying, but like, why are you hiding your face?
So number one, because if I take this mask off, there will be guys hunting me. Yeah, so one of our... I've been threatened. Hunting.
Oh, hunting, yeah, that's
Hunting,
true.
yeah.
We got friends on death list.
We have guys on death list, yeah.
It's the speaker's corner, like, it's about what you say.
One more final thing on the slavery. Just one.
And the second thing is, the more primary reason why I wear the mask is, what I say is more important than who I am.
Exactly, that doesn't matter.
That's fair enough.
So what I say is more important than who I am. I know it's probably going to be easy if you could see my lips moving and stuff and the expressions on my face, but I apologize.
You have to do that.
You know, because you've paid attention to what I've said more because of this. Fair enough.
But like, why would? I mean, you're saying something. I don't know who you are. Like, the mask doesn't make a difference to how I
But
interpret
it's not about who he is. It's about what he's saying.
Have you ever watched Mohammed Hijab at the corner before? He's a bit showman, right? This is the opposite of the ego and the pride.
Like, I agree with what you're saying, but I just don't like that. I don't know. Like, I don't.
People who can issue a fatwa.
Look,
And they will.
I don't understand this. I don't understand.
Look, I understand. It's just gonna have to be the way, though. Yeah.
It's your choice.
Look, here's the thing. I completely understand why you asked the question. I'm not against you.
Like, I don't disagree with what you're saying.
I just don't want people to make me a celebrity. Do you get?
But you're a celebrity.
They'll be like, oh my god! Like some people be like, oh
my gosh, it's sick.
Yeah, they're not gonna analyze the actual content of what I'm saying. Like when Mohammed Hijab makes a point, he says, "We do believe in this." Yes. They're not listening to what Mohammed Hijab is saying. They're like, oh my gosh, Mohammed Hijab said it. It's got to be true. You see what I mean?
Listening to the alpha male personality.
Yeah. They wanna be big.
If I can make just one final point about the slavery thing. In the Bible, as far as I understand it, because I've read it anyway, the Bible says you have a slave, you can beat them, and if they don't die within 2 days, you're not punished. And you keep them for I've read 50 years. Unless they're Jewish, you let them go after 7 years. Okay. Now that's all in the Bible. So that sounds wrong to me.
Now the problem is I mentioned this already.
We didn't mention about you can actually beat them.
I mentioned that the beating is calm. Okay, I'm saying the beating is calm. I'm not saying the beating is good. The beating is calm because I explained already. Yeah. So what I said is that these laws were meant to basically be training wheels as such, just to make those Jewish people better than the contemporaries around them. It wasn't so that they followed them the whole time. Here's what I will ask you. Do you think the Hammurabic Code is better than the Bible?
I don't think it's similar.
Is it better? You see? So for example, or like the draconic laws in Greece.
Hammurabi was an ancient.
For example, like an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, and he literally said hand for hand.
A code from Hammurabi, and it's very similar to. I found a lot of similarities between the Hammurabi Code and the Mosaic Law.
So here's what I will say, right?
An eye for an eye.
If you look at, but in fact, in the Jewish tradition, they explain what eye for an eye means, right? The point is if you look at the laws and codes of these traditions and religions,
stoning,
they are abominable. Now, even if you want to say that the Bible and the Old Testament laws were abominable, if you are comparing it to these other groups, it's clearly a step forward. And that was the point that the New Testament makes when it comes. Step forward towards leaving that.
Jesus talks about adultery.
For example,
divorce.
if you look at the stoning laws that were carried out by the Hebrews in the time of Jesus, they wanted to stone a woman for adultery. Very famous story.
Yes.
The pericope is talked about by a church father known as Pacian of Barcelona before the Codex Sinaiticus was ever written. Now, in this story, what you have is these people wanting to stone a woman because it's adultery. Very, very barbaric, someone could say. How dare we believe that they are barbaric? But however, Jesus reverses the law and says, if you haven't done if you haven't sinned,
Mary
then you
Magdalene.
can't.
He said to
Mary
Mary
Magdalene,
Magdalene, cast the first stone.
Yeah.
She was a prostitute.
Now,
That's right.
that story is taken as impetus for abolishing the stoning laws by the Christians. And Paul, exactly. And the word fulfill literally means to bring it to its natural conclusion. The natural conclusion is to usher Christ in, so that Christ can give off the precepts, which are no way similar to the Old Testament laws. In fact, if we were to conduct the Christian society in the way that we would do it, we would use the Old Testament laws as a framework in a general sense, but qualify that under how Christ would do
That's
it.
where the conflict comes from, isn't it? Because
But Jesus,
hold on.
Okay, sorry.
Keeping the Sabbath is a law. It's part of the law.
Yeah.
So
Now, here's the thing. Here's a crazy thing.
So if the law of a culture is to govern behaviour,
Yep.
and where you get your moral,
It's to
and
govern
ethics,
belief states. Yeah.
character,
Yeah.
and let's say the tradition is to keep the Sabbath,
Yeah.
and then Jesus comes along and says, well, no, but that stoning thing, I want to reform that, but you can still keep this. You know what I'm trying to say to you?
No, that's not what he did. So
we eternally
we believe that right now, right, we eternally,
Do you believe in the Sabbath? Do you practice the Sabbath?
in the way that it was meant to be done. The point about Christianity is that these precepts in the Old Testament aren't complete by themselves. They are complete when you add the Christian picture in it. For example,
So
there is
change the Sabbath day from the Saturday to a...
No. I'm going to explain. The church father, not church father, an individual called Novation explains in a book called On the Jewish Meats. He explains that every single food that is considered unclean is actually a symbol for a vice, a moral thing. For example, eating pigs is actually similar to the sin of gluttony. And so these different animals represent these different, these Levitical animals are actually representing these different sins. That's what they were meant to do. The Sabbath day is supposed to be the day of rest. It is supposed to signify rest.
Saturday.
Right. However, the Jews would commemorate that idea of rest on a Saturday. We commemorate that on every day. We believe that the Sabbath is a rest eternally from the point of Christ onwards. So right now, I am resting in the repose of Christ. That is how we keep the Sabbath.
Can you see where can you see where it's fair for Old Testament believers and New Testament believers to have a rivalry?
Oh, no. And trust me.
I could say, well, you know what, I'm passionate.
Yeah, completely fine. Yeah, that's fine.
You can come up to you and be like, why you changing?
Yeah. And that's where we go.
I'm sticking to the Torah.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
I don't eat.
No, hold on.
They can
They
say
can say that because they're not accepting of the Messiah as the Messiah.
Yeah, but if you're Israelite and you've got a long tradition before Jesus comes, and you don't eat pork, and then Jesus says, well, you know what, I've abolished everything.
And remember, Jesus says,
No.
the law, but to fulfill it.
He never says abolish. He never says I'm abolishing it. I'm saying its natural end is here. From that point on, this is what I'm saying. I'll give an example. The law is like a supply teacher.
Yes.
Christ is your main teacher.
Hold on. How can the supply teacher be before the main teacher?
That's what
the
we're
main teacher was already there.
Because Christ existed before the law, because the whole Christ being God thing, right?
That would be your belief then.
No. But you can see the consistency there, though. The law was kept as a schoolmaster until Christ's advent. But if you're
did Jesus give Moses the law?
Yes, as the schoolmaster.
Okay, so then I see where it's going.
Okay, so what then Jesus now changed it again? So I'm trying to say to you.
No,
so
look, right here, right?
That's a beautiful
statement. That's fine. Even in the Old Testament, it says that there is going to come a time where I will make a new covenant with these people.
Where is that in?
Jeremiah, the Old Testament, hundreds of years before Christ. But listen where it says, not like the covenant I made with their fathers. Not like the Old Testament laws.
So Abraham.
So even according
Now,
to them,
they went through great lengths. Exodus. Went up the Sinai. Got the law from the Almighty.
Hold on.
Came down.
That's
later on down the line.
No. That's not even how those laws worked. How many laws are in the Old Testament, in the Torah?
613.
Good. Did they all come at the same time?
613.
Yeah. Did they all come at the same time?
Well, it's a procession, isn't it?
How does that process?
So it didn't.
Now here's the question.
Because Old Testament is the
No. The law is strictly in the Torah. It's not in the prophets. The prophets is an account of how we kept it.
Right.
Now,
But Moses,
in the Torah,
Moses received the law.
but he didn't receive all of it at the same time.
No, but
Good.
he still received the law.
Now, can I explain how that? So how that? No, Moses completely. But we're asking.
But,
This,
but
Yeah.
what he's right, I know where he's going, because you had what you call the Leviticus priesthood.
Okay.
And all them. And so they, as a group, started to compile the law.
no, that's not what I'm going to say.
Okay.
That's not what I'm going to say at all.
But I know that's what happened. though,
My
isn't it?
point is, what is the reason for the law being revealed in the first place? To Moses, right? It was added for their transgressions, and I'll explain how we know this. In Exodus, we get 10. The 10 commandments or precepts that we have.
Don't worship other.
Then we have other rules as to how we're supposed to treat people in Exodus 21.
Yes.
That should be it. The Israelites end up sinning again. So God reveals a new set of laws, and so on, and so on, and so on. You sin, new laws. You sin, new laws. In fact, at the end of the book of Exodus, Moses isn't even able to go into the tabernacle because the people are impure. So we now need another set of laws to teach the Israelites how to be ritually, juridically, morally, and sanitarily pure. They then are able to go in the book of Numbers. Then they need another set of laws because they sinned again, and so on and so on. So what we explain, and this is what the Jews explained, as well as the Christians, that the law was not added as a perfect revelation in the sense of this is the eternal law's outlook.
Yeah.
It was added because every single time we're trying to give them morality, they keep sinning. So we keep adding on laws for transgression. So the law is literally a supply teacher that keeps giving new tasks until the main teacher can come and finalize the actual purpose of these commandments, which are these precepts.
So when the Christ came, he didn't abolish.
That's why the reason for the law being revealed is so important. The law was added for transgressions. What are you saying, brother? The law is added for transgressions. It's not added so that this is the code of conduct you should follow.
Yeah.
It is added to show how bad you are, not to teach you how you can be good.
Yeah.
You are taught how to be good by Christ. You are shown how bad you are by the law. That is the relationship.
There's a lot of shifting.
Would it be fair for me to say that because of today? Okay, go.
There's a lot of shifting things. Because if the tradition was they had a law, and then let's say one of the laws was they didn't eat they didn't pork, and they had
That's a common one.
They had what they call kosher.
Yeah.
So then now you're saying that when Jesus came, because he came to, he didn't abolish, but he said he reformed.
Fulfilled.
Fulfilled. So now the Christians can eat pork.
So the okay.
Because it doesn't
Fulfill.
matter. It doesn't matter what comes. What you say? It doesn't come out of the mouth, or what comes from.
It's not what comes from in the mouth. It's out.
So now they can eat pork.
Okay. This is
what you're telling me?
Okay, that's not what I'm telling you exactly.
No, but I'm saying
What
is that fair?
No. Can I? Okay. What I'm telling you is every single law has a purpose. Okay. So the law in itself is not like it's not like the laws or statutes that we have today, which are just like in themselves. These laws were theologically built to fulfill something down the road. Okay? These commandments, like not what foods to eat, what things to drink, how to treat slaves, and so on. These have to be fulfilled.
So it's expired now. It's done. We don't need to look at that.
You spoke about commandments. Commandments are laws.
Yeah.
What was the commandments that Jesus?
That's what I want to ask. So what you're
saying?
Okay, go ahead. So I don't want to interrupt you. Go ahead.
So the natural conclusion of these commandments and laws were explained by Christ in the Holy Tradition. For example, to worship on God. For example, to keep yourself clean. For example, to not murder. For example, to not commit adultery. All of these things
apply
are
to
shown.
today, right?
Apply to today, but not in the same sense as they were before.
Same sense. If I kill you, I kill you.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. However, there wasn't a commandment in the Old Testament against you being angry at someone. Without justified cause. It's not another law. It's actually, Jesus exactly says, the law says explicitly, do not murder. But I tell you that even if you look at someone to cause danger onto them, you have murdered. The idea is that the laws,
then you've done it in your heart.
the point is that these laws are pointing towards a fulfillment.
All right, cool. So watch this.
Adultery as well. You have to, in the Old Testament, in order to commit adultery, you would have to actually physically have sex with someone. However, there were loopholes. For example, maybe you could get heads or stuff like that. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Concubine.
Or concubine. Or even just like looking at someone like, rah, she's laying, you know, and you're married, you know, like, Jais, I'll ask you, bust them in cheeks, you know. That's what they say. However, Christ says, if you so much as look at someone.
Right, you've done it.
Right. The point, and that's applying not just to married people, but single people as well. Right. So even single people can commit adultery. The idea is that these commandments, not just the standard of holiness, but these commandments are misunderstood because they're not understood in the correct context, which is they are supposed to be laws that have natural conclusions. The law says thou shalt not kill. Its natural conclusion is to have not malice. The law says don't do this.
That's how you take that.
Hold on.
I know you're not gonna like that.
I'm really trying to get to the person of Christ here. The point is the disagreements you are having are not with the Christian interpretation. They're with the figure of Jesus. If you disbelieve in Christ, like a Jew, for example, you're not going to accept these interpretations, of course. But if you accept the figure of Jesus, you are going to accept these conclusions. The reason why I, as a black Christian, can argue against slavery and be an abolitionist is because Christ promotes abolitionism. If I'm a Jew, I'd have a much harder argument, right?
So sick.
Yeah, go on.
There's two tables.
Yeah.
There's a table with the people following the Old Testament, the
prophets
and all that they do, and there's another table where they're following the New Testament. The New Testament where Christ has come after.
Yeah.
So one table sticks with the kosher and it's not eating the pork, and there's another table where they're doing the New Testament after Christ has come and they're eating pork.
Yeah.
Who is in God's eyes, right and wrong?
Yep.
He wouldn't be able to answer
The person,
I don't think he'd be able to answer.
being honest, no.
But I want to know. Let him attempt to answer.
No, the person that is right is the person that has the fullness of the revelation. Here's what's important in the Old Testament. By the way, to answer it simply, the people with the Jesus table. Now, can I finish? Can I finish?
It's the people that would take
Can I finish?
the table and feed the hungry.
Can I finish?
They're eating the pork. So
Can I finish? No, I would like to answer this.
That's socialism.
Here's what I want to say.
What Jesus was.
Can I finish? He's not socialist. Can I finish?
Well, you said the Christians are eating
Yeah,
the pork.
and I will explain why.
Why?
Because in the Old Testament itself, says, I'm not complete. The Old Testament makes the claim, I have not finished. The Old Testament claim says, I need things different. The Old Testament
the Lord
says...
is speaking at this point. That's the Lord,
As in the Old Testament,
but
like I
Jew would
showed
say
you.
that's not Jesus, though.
No, the Jews will say that Jesus isn't that fulfillment. Now, whether they're right or wrong will be a historical analysis on Jesus, which is a different point, right? And the historical analysis says that he did rise from the dead and so on, and so we have reason to believe him. That's the point that we're making. Now, the people on the Old Testament that you want to say, well, I'm going to go by the book, I'm going to go by the Bible, I'm going to go by this and that. With the Old Testament, the same Old Testament tells you, I'm not finished, I'm not complete. And if you're not complete, like a prototype, you're using it wrong. You need to have the completed product. Now, we are arguing.
But that's what helps them make their decisions between what is permissible for them to eat from what is not permissible.
But it doesn't tell them that this is what they're actually following in truth, because what they're following is an incomplete book. Imagine if we're all reading Harry Potter and we get to the Chamber of Secrets, which is book 2, and it just stops there.
Can I ask you a question?
So
we don't get Voldemort dying. We don't get Harry Potter actually winning the thing at the end.
It just stops there, though, doesn't it?
It's incomplete. And imagine J.K. Rowling gives you a note at the end saying, by the way, guys, this story is incomplete. Everything that you're understanding here is incomplete.
So how can what makes them able now after Christ to be able to eat the pork like the Old Testament forbids them not to eat?
The explanations that the new law understands, which is the fulfillment of these precepts. It's saying these food laws are actually saying don't do these moral things. That's what it means.
So can we eat today?
So now you can eat the pork?
Yes, you can eat the pork. Because the importance of the pork is not the animal, but what the animal represents, which is gluttony. You get?
It's like
I don't know about that.
Hindu tradition, they don't eat a cow, but if someone comes along and says,
Brahmin,
now you can eat the cow.
Yeah, it says this in Romans.
I agree what you're saying.
No, okay.
I don't know.
The point that you're making is now, just because the Christians are able to say that you don't need to eat pork or something, then oh man, that's crazy.
We need to see the context as well. You know, when Jesus Christ was talking, that time he was talking to scribes and Pharisees.
Yes,
because they
really
believe
understand
that even by speaking the word of swine,
yeah.
you become holy.
That's what you were saying.
Unholy.
The point
but
that I'm
Jesus
saying.
Christ what he was saying, that whatever comes
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine. Now the point about the food laws, as Christ explained, is that every single commandment has a fulfillment. These cleanliness laws, these slave laws. Even the food laws.
I don't eat pork. Does it make difference?
This is what I
that's what I keep saying.
I just want to put my 2 pence in.
All right.
Right?
Yeah.
So he said that.
We spoke about.
It's all right, man.
We spoke about the Old Testament.
Flip's sake,
We
bro.
spoke about the Old Testament not being completed.
No one was
It was
able to.
written in
When
the.
I left, you was already explaining this.
Yeah, bro. Guys,
It was
don't
written
get.
Let's listen to the lady, man.
All right.
Sorry.
So in the Old Testament, it said it's not completed. We know that when Jesus came came to complete that, to fulfill it, right? We know that the prophets before Jesus come in was already prophesying that.
Right.
Isaiah said, and unto these people I will write this law in their heart. Right? Jesus turned around and said, and I leave with you 2 commandments. The 2 commandments that he left, if you understand that in the spirit and allow for it to manifest, all those reminders of the Mosaic laws, you're not tempted to do. Because if you love your neighbor like you love yourself, you're not going to go and rob from them. You're not going to go and steal from them. You're not going to go and look on his wife and try and convert and have an adulterous relationship. If you see somebody that is hungry and you know that you have, out of love, you're going to give. If you know all of these things. But what people don't, what we move so far, we get into this intellectual kind of like debunking and pulling scriptures and everything.
Yeah.
And Jesus was, that's okay. That's okay.
I'll continue this point.
That is okay. I don't have
So,
a problem with that.
What we want
But
to.
some things are so simple.
Okay. And I appreciate that.
I agree with that.
Here's what we're trying to say.
Things are not.
But some things
Here's what
will
we're
never
trying to
be
say with
revealed
the
to
pork.
us.
Here's what we're trying to say with the pork stuff.
Life.
Have you read what the Jews have actually said on their own scriptures when it comes to the eating of the foods and stuff? Even they have moral interpretations for the foods and stuff. Where they misunderstand is they say now not only do we need to keep these moral commandments, we also need to do these food things. They think that it's a literal interpretation. But if the text itself is telling you, no, brother, this is not complete yet. We're going to wait for someone to complete it to tell you how to interpret it. It's literally telling you, listen, we need to wait for this to be interpreted, and then now you can be able to follow it correctly. Now, those Jews in the Old Testament that followed those Jewish laws like that, they're not going to go to hell. Because we believe that when Christ died, he went to Sheol, which is the land of the dead, and rose those people to heaven.
This is what you believe.
This is what the Christians believe, yes.
That's fair.
If you're centered,
First,
This is his belief.
First Peter chapter 3 verse 21, which is talking about baptism from verses 18, okay? And from verses 15 it says that Christ goes into the prison to declare the gospel to the souls in the prison. This is called the harrowing of hell, meaning he's bringing those people out. So continue, okay? The Jews, if they believe that Jesus is not the Messiah, they're going to follow the text incorrectly because they're still waiting for, even absent from Christ, they're still waiting for the text to be completed.
The messianic age.
So they can never actually complete the text, and so they can never logically follow the text, truly. At least for us, we can logically follow the text because we have the completement, the fulfillment of the text. Now, there's a verse in the Bible, Romans chapter 14, and in Romans 14 it says that all things are permissible, but not everything is beneficiary. So, it is permissible for you to eat pork, but it's not beneficiary for you to eat pork when you're around people that don't eat pork. But we still have food restrictions in Christianity as well. We cannot eat any food that's offered to an idol. We still have food restrictions. We have to abstain from all foods offered to idols in Acts chapter 15. So we have foods that are stained by blood, for example. We can't eat that. Blood meats, we can't eat that as well. So these foods, you can't eat that. That's why I get my steak well done. Now, do you get what I'm trying to say? Now,
they mock us for that. They say it's too chewy.
Now, the point that I'm saying, is now, amidst all of the dance and the interpretations, everything, because I've answered every question. We're now on Jesus. Whether you accept this figure or reject him. At least for a Jew, they can be consistent because they reject Jesus. But if you accept Jesus and you follow the law the way the Jews do, you have a problem. Because Christ and the Holy Tradition tells you not to do the way that way. Okay?
My stance is secularism, paganism, and philosophy.
That's fine.
But I like the fact that you believe in something and you are strong in that which you believe in.
Of course, yeah.
So, and the thing is, I don't think that if you die, you go to hell. Ultimately, I don't know your salvific state.
No one knows. You don't know.
Now, what we will say is there are people that
we don't need to, because we have opposing beliefs. It doesn't mean we have to go
Yeah.
to war.
No.
That's to turn into a big.
Yeah.
Well, dying. I know, but those people are fanatical.
Yeah. What we will say is this. Yeah. What we will say is this.
God causes them to spill blood.
What we will say is this. Okay. What we'll say is that we know that there are people that are definitely in hell. Judas is one of them. He's in hell. The reason why is because we call him the son of perdition. Now, the word perdition in Greek is actually the son of hellfire. So, hellfire. Yeah. Now, the whole point is so that we can be absolutely sure that hell is not empty.
Okay.
You understand? People like Arius. That guy's in hell, bro. I'm not gonna lie. That guy died taking a shit. That nigga's in hell. I'm not gonna lie. He died on the toilet taking a shit. He's going to hell. Hitler's definitely in hell. Now, the reason why he's in hell is because he burnt churches. Okay?
All y'all going to hell.
So you see, listen. All y'all going to hell.
LeBron.
You, hell. You, hell. You right there, hell. You, hell. Yeah, I said it.
When you say church, the building or the people?
The people in the building as well.
Hell
Like, burning a church building is sacrilege anyways. It's sacrilege. To burn a worship place for the Most High God is sacrilege. Burning a Bible, sacrilege.
Oh, yeah.
Removing parts of the Bible, sacrilege. Things like this. Now, the point that we're saying, okay, the point that we're saying is whether a person is in hell or not is not just a soul judgment, even though God does come to judge.
Yeah.
The word krino means to make the correct decision, which is judgment. This is where we get the word judgment from. And the correct decision will be made, number one, based on the content of your belief and the content of your heart. Now, if God...
your faith in.
Yeah, as well as how you act that out. If, for reasons unknown to us, you weren't able to believe in the gospel because you're on Sentinel Island and no one was able to preach the gospel to you, that doesn't mean that you can't. That doesn't mean that you're going to go to hell.
They just don't,
it's possible.
You were Vatican II on this. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the point that we're basically making. All of these things and these interpretative systems I've given because this is what Christ has given.
Right.
Now, the thing that you're going to have to debunk me or falsify me on is on whether Christ actually did those things, in the sense of whether he was true.
Yeah.
Like, we know he existed, but did he actually die and resurrect?
Oh, they believe he existed.
We know his house.
No one knows outside text, you support
As in,
outside
Jesus
text.
mythicists are not a popular belief anymore. Like, it's not a popular belief.
But we don't
Scholars are...
I don't know it exists.
So, as a historical fact, yes. Like the same way that we know that Hitler existed because we have documents about Hitler, we know that Christ exists.
Okay, what about George Washington?
George Washington.
We only have writings.
I don't know.
The first president of the United States, did he exist?
I would tell you,
Yeah,
I
but
believe he does.
and
You get that? I believe he does.
but the reason why we know is because we have those documents that still exist. We have those archaeological finds. Same thing for Jesus. We have his house, for example. Like the house he used to chill with his mud. We have his yard. We also have where he went into Egypt. We also have where he traveled back to Jerusalem. We have where he died, the crucifixion site. We have these different.
Yeah, but what I'm talking about is you would say know this person exists.
As a historical fact, yes.
Okay, what about in the matter?
Huh?
In the matter, in
Like empirical, like science?
Yeah, empirical.
No. But the point is, I understand where you're coming from, but that's not how we measure history, bruv. Do you get?
Oh no, that's not how we measure history. Yeah, I understand.
So we don't, like, the same way, like, for example, empirically, we don't know that Hitler existed.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
But historically, we know that Hitler existed.
Okay, yeah.
Historically, we know that. Historically, we know. See what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, historically, did he resurrect? That's a different question now.
We don't know that. We don't know.
I think
I'm gonna say that we know, but it's gonna be due to an argument that I can present to you.
Okay.
Do you understand? So we're gonna wrap it up here. Thank you so much
No,
for the conversation. God bless you.
What's your name, by the way?
My name is SIIIG. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Twitch, TikTok. Yeah,
SIIIG, like cigarettes.
so S, 3 I's, 1 G.
Oh, okay. All right.
Thank you so
Should
much.
have given him that minimal facts argument.
Yeah, no. But we've gotten far enough. Yeah. Anyways, we're gonna wrap up here, guys. We were able to talk about atheism for a long time. God bless you all and take great care. I did make some errors in terms of the certain facts that I used. However, I think the majority of the things that I said was true. One of the things I said that was wrong was about not the sanitary movement.
Talking about Acts 15?
No, not Acts 15. There was something that I said pertaining to Mesopotamia, that was it, and the Abraham tradition. that can be fact-checked. But I think the Mesopotamian tradition does feed into the Abraham cycle, which is fine. So yeah, hopefully that should be okay. Everything else I said was fine, but I just want to be honest to my audience so that you guys can go fact-check me. Guys, make sure you read the facts and the sources, and you may be able to come to some truth. God bless and take care.
Without further ado,
shut up.
Have a bit.
Shut up. Get out. Get out.